I got a good question. I know a couple of you in class have joint replacements, and I think you guys are starting to know how I feel about our current methodology and approach to diminishing arthritis. I think we're in an epidemic of people killing off their cartilage in their bodies. We're all born with excessive lung tissue, excessive cartilage, excessive kidney function, and then through lifestyle changes, predominantly, there are some diseases, but predominantly through lifestyle, we lose those tissues. And you guys know that we're in also an epidemic of cardiovascular function and illness, but we're also musculoskeletally and orthopedically, in my branch of medicine, we are in an epidemic of people killing off their joint cartilage. And medicine isn't doing anything to teach people about how to preserve the quality of their cartilage. In fact, what I hear come out of many orthopedists' mouth are things like, well, you're bone on bone, and there's nothing you can do about that except have a surgery. And that's really poor education and poor information. And I really think what we need is like an epidemiologist with a 60,000-foot view to look at this problem and to help orthopedists understand how to help educate and manage this problem. And physical therapists can and should be on the front line of that. I mean, this is our bread and butter. This is what we do, is conservative management and preventative medicine. And ultimately, at its heart, this class is an attempt at preventative orthopedic medicine. So you can change the quality of the tissue that is still remaining in your body. The only way you can do that is through changing your lifestyle, right? And we're going to talk about that in relationship to the spine when we have our spinal workshop, but you can extend that out and apply that to any other body part, any other joint. And I have a whole workshop specifically on arthritis. It's called Overcoming Arthritis, because arthritis is something that we can stop the progression on, right? Arthritis is a disease process similar to kidney disease, similar to cardiovascular disease. And we all know that what we eat matters in those other areas, and how we move is essentially medicine. That's either encouraging and protecting our cartilage or destroying and devastating our cartilage. So in my line of work, movement is medicine. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I got a good question from somebody that had a joint replacement. And I know this doesn't just apply to her, but several people. And she said, squats hurt my knees. I don't know what that hurt is coming from. But when you've had a joint replacement, obviously they've cut off the ends of your two bones, right? They've cut off the end of your femur, which is sort of shaped like this, and they've cut off the end of your tibia. And there you have a prosthesis there. So the things that are still left to generate pain are things like muscle tissue, things like tendons, which are just the end points of muscle. And then there's nerves in the area. And then there's probably also ligaments and fascia in the area. So when you have discomfort and inability in a certain movement, like the squats in our class, if you think about it, a squat is essentially getting in and out of a chair. It's getting up and down off a toilet. It's getting in and out of a car. So if you feel too weak for squats in class, that's a sign that if you're having pain, it's probably a sign of weakness in muscle or tendon. And it's probably, if you've had a joint replacement, and it's probably a sign that you're not strong enough to do this two-legged, so 50% of my body weight on my right, 50% of my body weight on my left, movement of my body weight through space. So then I have options. I can stop doing that movement, right? Which is a really hard movement to stop doing. As soon as you can't do that anymore, you usually can't live independently. And the other option is I can start to strengthen to be able to do that. So I want to talk about how we strengthen. The best way to strengthen the body is to move in a way that is progressive, that starts easier and it gets harder and harder and harder until you can tolerate more advanced variations of your body weight, okay, of moving your body weight. So I want to show this little whiteboard, because this kind of talks about our progression that we're doing in this class. This whole class is set up in a way that is progressive. And the way that we have this information is from the field of biomechanics. And you guys know, I think I've talked about it enough, biomechanics is the field of physics applied to the physical body. And so biomechanists are the main people that are sort of helping us navigate some of these challenges. So if we look at this board, easier stuff is on this side and harder stuff is over here on this other side. And you can tell, like, these are the functional movements that we do. Standing is easier than walking. Walking is easier than running. In terms of biomechanics, what standing requires of us is that we navigate about 50%, about half 0.5 of our body weight through each leg, right? Which isn't easy. And honestly, not everyone can do that, honestly. But if we look at walking, what we notice in walking, and we know this from force plate data where people are walking over forces, over force plates in the ground that are measuring the forces that are happening in their joints, is that people have, when they walk, they have to be able to control 1.1, so it's 100, it's over 100%, to 1.2% of their times their body weight when they're just walking, okay? Never mind something like running or pickleball's also in this world where you have to navigate 4 to 5 times your body weight, okay? So those are our functional exercises. Now, sort of on this other line, what I've done is I've put the exercises that we're doing in this class and how we're moving them. So you notice we start with isometrics. Isometrics are much less than body weight. In fact, when we do the harder version of isometrics in this class, all we're controlling is the weight of our leg. When we do isometrics where we're lying on our back, it's even over here, like over in this area. We're not even controlling the weight of our leg, right? So the weight of our leg is way less than the weight of our pelvis and up to our head, right? So this is isometric world. And then when we come up to our feet and we are weight bearing and we work on our wall sits, we're essentially asking our muscles and tendons and joints to compress 50%, 50% on the right, 50% on the left. Okay, does that make sense? Then when we come into squats, so we're weight bearing, we've got 50% of our weight on our right, 50% of our weight on our left. So we're two-legged, but we're moving through a range of motion. So right here, I could put another line and I could draw and I could write getting in and out of a chair, right? The forces we have to navigate when we're getting in and out of a chair are the same as when we're doing a squat. Does that make sense? So I have a huge issue. I take huge issue as a physical therapist with any surgeon. I don't care about their training. Anybody that tells anybody that they should never do squats again. If you don't do a squat, how in the heck are you going to get in and out of your car? You can kiss that goodbye. How in the heck are you going to get in and out of a toilet unless you get a lifted seat? And then even then, you're just drifting towards less function. If you do not stay strong enough for your function, you're going to lose it. And I don't mean to say that to scare people. I need to inform you guys about that because that advice is really bad advice that's coming. If anybody tells you not to do something, you should always ask them for how long. And they should always say it's only about 6 months. 6 weeks, 6 weeks to 3 months is how long you should avoid something. But then you need to get back into it because if you don't start doing it again, you're going to lose it. So somebody in class, that same person said, can I use my TRX? Well, yeah, you know what a TRX is? Let me show you guys. I have a $5 one, by the way, from Amazon. If you have, because we have a squat rack. So TRXs tend to be like hundreds of dollars, but my husband found this. It's really cheap. It's like a support strap for moving or truckers or something. And then I just throw it over. We have a really stable squat rack here. So I throw it over a really stable squat rack. And so her question to me was, can I use my TRX straps and work on my squats? Well, yeah, but then, yeah, definitely. But then you're working at this level. You're working at like, where are we? Below controlling 50% of your body weight because what you do is you take some of your body weight through your arms when you use a TRX strap. So you're pulling with your arms and then your legs are no longer loaded to 50%. So are you going to set up? So it's good at first, potentially, if you can't tolerate a squat, but then are you going to set one of these up in your toilet, in your bathroom? Are you going to set one of these up getting out of your car? You can't. It's fine to start with, but at some point you have to get back into being able to control your two legs, right? At some point. So this is kind of where we're left off in this class. This is sort of where we're ending. So you'll notice that in this class, we're not even getting into the place of building enough strength for walking. And the reason why we're not getting into this place is because most people are not ready. And this is a reality of rehabilitation, is that most people, what they're doing with their lives is like over here, and then how strong they are is over here. And so you see there's a real imbalance. There's like a lot of weakness, and then people are trying to do very, very hard things. And this is what is causing a lot of cell death and a lot of injury, a lot of cartilage cell death and a lot of injury, a lot of muscle tears, a lot of strains, and a lot of cartilage destruction. So yeah, you can always make things easier in this class, but then I also recommend make things easier outside. So if you can't do a squat with 2 legs in this class, which is about here on the scale, you want to reconsider walking on the earth as a cardio option for you. Because in this one, you're only controlling 50% of your body weight on each leg. And this one, you're controlling 100+% of your body weight when you walk. And we have this data, this information from biomechanics, from physics. This is the science of it. Okay, so this is important to understand. When most people come into rehab, they are so weak. We spend the whole rehab, all their sessions in a year, maybe getting to this place. That's where most people get discharged from rehab, not even strong enough for walking. To be strong enough for walking, really, you should be able to control 100% of your body weight. This is a static and this is a squat. The single leg squat is harder than walking, but not by a lot, you guys. I want to warn everybody about that. I don't know why this message isn't being delivered clearly to everybody. This should be in all of our inboxes. This is one of the most important things of this class. This is one of the most important things of starting to change your lifestyle, is that you're starting to understand, oh, hey, I've actually been doing strength training that's really down here, but I'm living my life out here, and that's a big mismatch. And over time, I'm really potentially hurting myself by making those decisions. So what are some good cardiovascular options that don't require you to be this strong? Getting in a pool. The nice thing that getting in a pool does, I get in a pool 2 or 3 times a week, is that it automatically reduces gravity. The thing that makes it so hard for us to do these things is gravity. And gravity, we're going to look at in our spine workshop, is part of what helps keep our cartilage healthy. We need it. But if you aren't strong enough and you can't tolerate that enough, then you might need to get into the pool and reduce gravity. Another way, and a lot of people in Northern California have access to this, there are treadmills called Alter-G. I'm going to write that down. And it's a really smart device because it's a way that you can work on walking or hiking or running in essentially a modified gravity position, Alter-G. You also can get into a pool and put the water up to like your chest and work on walking, or go into the deep water with a belt and work on running or work on water aerobics. It's a wonderful way to get cardio. Ellipticals and stationary bikes also reduce the amount of loading onto your joints. However, I will say for people with cartilage issues in their knees, stationary bikes are not fantastic because they put the body into the position that got you in this. The reason why we have an epidemic of joint replacements right now is because this message isn't getting out there, and it's also because of our sitting, right? We sit all day on our booties. And then if you're going to sit on your bicycle, you know, how is that going to be any different? You're still sort of sitting too much, you know? And it doesn't let the, like, neither of these postures lets your back of your body strengthen, which is your butt, which is what walking does essentially, right? Walking allows your legs to extend and it gets your butt stronger. In this position, my butt is long and it's compressed. Okay. So we have an epidemic of weak butts is kind of the way to look at it. We have weak butts and we have weak backs, and we have osteoporosis excessively, and then we have stenosis and cartilage destruction excessively. So these things all go together. So a surefire way to help yourself is to build strength. But if you're only strong enough for your wall sits, right, which are here, then don't do squats yet, okay? Work on these things progressively. If you try to do something that's too hard for you, it's like taking a kindergartner and dropping them off at Harvard. Harvard's great, kindergarten's great, but you want a match between those things, okay? So take your time, understand where you're at. The other thing is there's no shame wherever you're at in this process. There's no shame around that. There absolutely is no shame. Every time you have an injury, you backslide back here, and then people that are really good work through it again. Our medical community isn't good at telling people or teaching people about their responsibility, their job in this process, but it's really on us. Okay, so just start to understand where you are, absolve yourself of any shame around wherever you are, and then start to judiciously move through those phases. And you'll notice that in this class, we move from isometric to weight bearing on 2 legs to weight bearing, probably not on single leg in this class. We get into that in progressions, but we're not quite there yet in this class. Okay.